Good afternoon, everybody. Uneducated Economist here. So, the United States has officially entered a recession. And, when I look at the articles that are being talked about the recession, everything is being blamed on the virus. They say if it wasn't for the lockdown, if it wasn't for the global slowdown in demand because of the virus, we would not have entered a recession. Everything would have been fine. And I don't believe that. I feel that we would have gone into a recession anyway, but the virus gave the government and the central bankers something to blame it on. And the reasonings why I believe that is because there was plenty of signs that showed a recession on the horizon. I mean, just go back and look at some of my videos prior to March. We were talking about many things that were indicators for a recession. There was an inverted yield curve. That's one of the biggest indicators of a recession on the horizon. The unemployment rate, when you have the best jobs market in history, go back and look at a chart of unemployment, and you will see that unemployment gets to its lowest level just before a recession. Right? It seems that there's more jobs out there and more people working right before a recession every time. Real estate was prices were far outpacing wage growth. All these indicators were leading up to a recession, and then all of a sudden, bang, we get hit with this virus. And now the bankers and the government have something to blame it on. And when people out there, you think about this for a second. If people did not have this virus to blame the recession on, who would they be blaming it on? They'd be blaming it on the central bankers, and they'd be blaming it on the government. But now they look to the government and the central bankers as saviors, saying they're doing everything they can to try and save the economy from this virus lockdown situation. Everything that they do is the reasonings why we go into a recession. It's not even something that they do. Recessions are just almost just naturally occurring. They happen every 7 to 12 years. The country has experienced countless of them. They've experienced many depressions. It's cyclical. It's just going to happen. It's business cycle on top of debt cycles. And to say that it was the virus that did it is just pointing the finger over there to blame something other than yourself. That's what the government is doing. That's what the central banks are doing. Things are not looking good out there. Look at the World Bank. The World Bank had a report talking about a 5.2% drop in global GDP for 2020. That's huge. There's a huge slowdown in demand. Look at the stock market. The stock market is rising at a pace that's like a rocket ship. And people are getting out of their safe haven asset and getting into the stock market. They're in fear of missing out. They're getting in at all-time highs. Not all-time highs, but reaching up to the new highs. Or higher levels. I don't know exactly how I should say that. But when people are getting out of the safe haven and moving into the stock market, they're selling their treasuries. And what's going on with the 10-year? You're seeing interest rates rise. And if you follow that 10-year, you're going to realize that 10-year treasury, wherever that thing goes, all interest rates go. Mortgage rates, car loans, everything follows the 10-year. So right now you have interest rates rising at a time when you have a lot of people unemployed. This is not a good sign for the future. And I'll leave links down in the description for all this stuff. Municipalities. Municipal bonds right now are in a very critical state. Because think about it. How does a state or a city or a county, how do they pay their bonds? They tax the people. Well, if everybody's unemployed, where do you collect the tax revenue from? You can't. So now what? What do you do when it comes to the pensions? Because you owe these pensioners some money. And if you're underfunded, you're in a very critical state. Meaning you can either tax the people who are working more, which isn't good for the economy. You can cut services, which nobody seems to like. Or you can go deeper into debt, sell even more bonds. So it's no wonder why the Federal Reserve set up the municipal bond lending facility to try and keep the municipal bonds flowing out there, to keep them, in funds, I guess. We're in a very critical state coming up here in the future. And the government and the central banks, The only thing they can do is try and provide more credit to try and leverage out the future even further. You know, people keep talking about a V-shaped recovery. I don't see it. I don't see anything on the horizon that has anything as far as a good sign to it. You know what would be a good sign? Is a crash to clear out some of this debt. They kind of relate it to a wildfire, and to clear out the underbrush, because that underbrush is bad debt. And if you can burn off all that bad debt, we could start with some new, they call it green shoots, where we can get the zombie companies out there, these zombie corporations who are sucking the blood out of the economy, sucking the life out of the economy, using up valuable resources, valuable talent. For what? They're not a profitable company. They shouldn't exist, but yet the accessibility to credit is there because of the central banks and the government. Official recession because of the virus? I don't think so. Uneducated Economist. I'll leave links down in the description. You guys let me know.